It's 4 o'clock on a Monday, and you know what that means, don't you? It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live. Had to stretch to make that a hit on time. How are you guys? Hello, everybody. I'm so excited that the Road Rally is coming. I'll tell you about that in a second. Anyway, today we're going to talk about why you haven't made it. I know that that's a big issue for a lot of people. It frustrates a lot of people, and I'm going to look at some reasons why it may not be happening for you yet, and hopefully we can figure that out, solve that problem. I'm going to rely heavily on books by Steven Pressfield and Simon Sinek today. Great books. Some of those I've read like 4 or 5 times already. So just want to do a minute. And hello, everybody in the chat room. Let me say hi, you guys. I spent 11 hours yesterday working on Road Rally stuff on a Sunday, I might add. Yes, play the violin for me. Anyway, I got to say, I almost couldn't fall asleep last night. I've got really good people on the stage in the Grand Ballroom this year. I just added a panel on Sunday about video game music, which I'm very excited about. Fairly late last night, I was talking to one of the video game composers that will be joining us for that. Going to tell you all about getting into the industry, what it takes to get into the industry, how you get in, how the work differs from doing instrumental cues, that sort of thing. Also confirmed a guy whose name I'm not going to tell you yet. Not that I'm keeping it such a big secret, but he's a Hollywood composer. And I saw him getting interviewed by somebody else that I was thinking about inviting to the Road Rally. And when I watched the person I was going to invite to be on a panel interview this other person, I called the other person up and said, dude, you have to do a one-on-one interview with me on the stage in the main ballroom at the Road Rally. And we spoke this morning and we confirmed it. So both of those things are going to happen on Sunday the 9th. And I know that some people fly home on midday Sunday because they want to make it to work on Monday. I'm telling you, if there's any way to stay throughout Sunday until 6 o'clock, do it, even if you have to take a red eye home, because Sunday is probably going to be the best action in the ballroom that I've ever had on a Sunday in 29 years of doing road rallies. So there you go. Okay. You guys can see me, right? I am broadcasting. Like to make sure before I jump into the show and find out nobody can see me or hear me. We're staying. Okay, so yay, Dean Turner's staying. Okay, great. All right, so once again, today's topic is why you haven't made it. And I don't know if this is going to be a full 90 minutes or not, so we may do some Q&A at the end. But I really researched this a lot starting last Thursday, and I did quite a bit of work on it over the weekend and even more work today. We're going to do a deep dive on the topic, but it's all practical stuff. And you'll go, oh, I never thought about that. So let's just jump right in. We're going to look at why many musicians fail to achieve their goals in the music business and how you can turn it around using wisdom from 2 of my very favorite authors, who are Simon Sinek, who wrote Start With Why. It's considered to be a classic, I think. And maybe my very favorite author ever, Steven Pressfield, who wrote, if you have not read this book, anybody who is a musician or an actor or, you know what, just anything in the creative arts, you got to read this book. He was our keynote interview for the first virtual road rally in 2020. And yeah, I am not exaggerating when I tell you, I think I've read this book now about 5 or 6 times. It's kind of hard to show you how all the pages are dog-eared and marked up. And then another Pressfield book, Turning Pro. You can see that I've read this one a lot and used it for a lot of taxi TVs. I mean, And this one, which I don't think maybe gets enough attention, it's called Do the Work, also by Steven Pressfield. I think it's got kind of a subdued cover. It looks like somebody, in Eastern Europe back in 1927 or something on the cover. Anyway, just great, great, great books. I literally try and go back and reread them about every 18 months because I forget a lot. And sometimes I go, oh, yeah, I should be doing that. Okay, so here we go. Obviously, making it is defined differently for different people. Some people might see music in today's show, obviously aimed at musicians, whether you're trying to get a record deal or get a song cut or succeed in film and TV. It's everybody's version of making it is different. It's very personal to them. For some people, a side hustle, just, oh, yeah, I like doing this. I enjoy it. It's kind of a hobby, but I've had to kind of learn some pro stuff to get good at it. But you don't do it, 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. You do it when you can and hope that every now and then that maybe you could get a piece of music in a TV show or something and have your family sit down and go, oh, great job. Love that. Maybe you can make a couple $1,000 a year. So that's one level. Maybe for other people who are songwriters or artists, getting a record deal, which is hard, obviously. Far fewer people sign to record labels every year than have music placed in TV shows, just because there are a gazillion needs for music and scenes of TV shows and films and video games, I should say. And then you have the people that want to get song cuts with major artists on major labels, aspirational goal, but not impossible. It does happen. We've had, I don't know, Dean Crepane got a song cut through a Taxi Connection, ended up with a gold record for that. Adam and Andy got stuff cut. Gosh, that was easily 12, 15 years ago now. But anyway, two taxi writers that were mostly in the Christian market and got stuff in High School Musical 1, 2, and 3, Camp Rock 1, 2, and 3, signed Disney Music Publishing deals, and they both became millionaires within a couple of years, I believe. And they deserve it. Those guys worked at it every day like a job. And then there are people that want to do sync full time, that give it their all, and they want to ditch their day gig and do music full time. So, I can't say that I'm giving any general advice that applies to people at all those different aspirational levels. But if you're trying to make it at any level and you're frustrated that things aren't happening, there you go. Hopefully you'll get something from this show. So there, you know what? I made a note to myself. There are probably people in the chat room that have made it, depending on what their definition of making it is. But this show's for people who are frustrated that they haven't made it yet, at least not to the level they want to be at. For those of you who have made it, stick around. Even though you may know this stuff, maybe you can offer some tips to your fellow members in the chat room. Having been in the music industry, if you can believe it, for 50 years now, I think I've heard all the reasons ranging from, oh, I don't have the time to really work on my music. Oh, I saw this one the other day on somebody's forum. Taxi only wants music that's good and ready to go. Taxi is, of course, is an extension of the greater industry. Yes, nobody wants music that's not very good and not ready to go. So thank you for stating the obvious, person who put that on a forum. And then we get the people who say, I don't think my music's good enough, or I'm not talented enough. I've heard that one a lot. But I don't think talent isn't the problem. As Pressfield says so many times in all of his books, that it's resistance and lack of clarity are usually the problem. And that's why I spent the weekend revisiting these books from these two gentlemen. Let's start out with the Simon Sinek stuff. And I'm going to give you like reason number one, two, three, four. And reason number one, according to Simon, is that people have an unclear why. And he has a quote in the book that says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Think about that for a second. They don't buy, I mean, yes, ultimately they may, license a piece of your music. They are buying what you do. But the people that get to know you in the industry, the library owners that keep coming back to you all the time, those people aren't just licensing or signing your music into their catalog, doing publishing deals with you. They're buying into why you do what you do. It's pretty obvious when you're somebody who takes it seriously, acts very professionally, acts very committed. That's the why. You do it because you want to make music for them that they can then turn around, sign into their catalog, and ultimately it's music that makes their clients happy, who are most of the time music supervisors. So here's an example. You know what? I actually want to say, but musicians, rather than choosing a specific why you want to do it, a lot of people will just say, I want placements. Or the most vague thing of all that I've heard, I am not exaggerating when I say I've probably heard this 1,000 times, maybe thousands of times, is I just want to get my music out there. Hang on, I got to switch a setting over here. Sorry, folks. I just want to get my music out there. What exactly does that mean? You want to go, busk on a street corner so people can hear it? Do you want to play clubs? Do you want to play coffee houses? Do you want to play stadiums? What do you mean when you get your music out there? Basically, you want people to hear it, appreciate it, and then you want to feel the love. I'm guessing that's my take on what getting my music out there does and accomplishes. But these people never talk about the why. Why do you want to get your music out there? So people that have vague goals get vague results. Start with the why. I've heard that for much of my career. Here's an example. A cue lands in a drama because the composer's why was that he wanted to capture the vulnerability. Oh man, I left out half a sentence when I typed this out. Cue lands in a drama because the composer's why was that he wants to capture vulnerability, not get a placement. So the composer sat down to create a cue that would, why did he do it? So that it would improve the mood of a scene rather than I want to make money from it. So he went deeper than just I want to make money, I want to get a placement. It's like, I want to create a piece of music that if it's put in this kind of scene, it's going to have this kind of effect. And that is a good why. So I'm going to ask you guys in the chat room to concentrate for a minute on me, not on each other, sorry. Tell me what your why is. I'm genuinely curious. What is your why? And just put it in one sentence, not a paragraph. Why is it that you want to be successful in the music industry? What is your why? And it better be a good answer, or I'm going to report you to Mr. Simon Sinek, the king of all whys. People are thinking. I can see the chat just slowed down. James Cox says to make music that emotionally moves people. To prove to myself I can do it. Says Singing in the Rain. Martin Gravel says a pivot, diversification in my career. Boy, did I took a antihistamine or some sort of, I don't know, a pink pill from Costco for allergies about an hour ago. I always forget that it makes my vision blurry for about 3 hours, so I'm having a hard time reading the chat. Wow, you guys are actually responding. Don't know why, but the truth is there's a lot of money in dreams. Jim Stamper, love hearing my cues on TV. Why? It's the only thing I can do well. I love it, Glenn. To make a living, Doug Ricketts says, make a living doing something I enjoy, that being creating new tracks. MMS says, I want to prove to myself that I have the ability to be a professional composer, musician in the industry. Stu Thaler says, incentive to write and record, a reason for doing that. Bruce Capaferri says, I want to be remembered as having been a person that improved people's emotional lives. Gloria Covington, I believe that I have something to offer film and TV as well as artists. Kent Wall, making human connection. Greg Trammell, I just want to see if I would just see if I can do it. If I make a little cash, cool. I dig the challenge. Good to know. Marco Ianello says, I want to tell stories with music. Marion Laird, I want to help people connect. I think she meant to say, I want to help people connect with the scenes in film and TV. Ken Bearden said it's on his bucket list. Okay. Robert Stoner says to get a real performer, which I'm not, to play my music. William Gaiakis says, I want to max out my creativity and keep growing, and having success pushes me. Martin Gravel, music has always been been a passion. R.J. House, lifelong passion. I can't not do it. For the big bucks, says Jim Stamper. All right. Well, thank you for answering that. I may go back and revisit those later. I'm always curious. And long before I was familiar with Simon Sinek and this great book, which honestly requires like rereading some of the pages. It gets a little dense, but it's really good information. But years ago, I remember saying to my wife, you can apply the why theory to almost anything. She's like, what? What are you talking about? And I said, well, almost any situation, if you just keep asking why, almost like a 5-year-old, I'm sorry, you can't have ice cream now. Why? Because I said so. Why? Because we're going to eat dinner soon. Why? But you know what? Maybe those little 5-year-olds are smarter than we grown-ups are, because there's a lot to be said for peeling back the layers of an onion with repetitive searching for why. Okay, so you typed your thing in the chat room. That was interesting. Let's go on to reason number 2, chasing recognition for the wrong reasons. Here's a quote from Simon Sinek. The goal is not to do business with everybody. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. You can't know everything that people believe, but having similar values and doing business with people, in other words, how can you align with their goals, right? So if you're going to deliver music to your clients, I'm going to, as the composer, deliver music to you, Mr. Library, that you then can present to your clients, and they will find it usable because I'm delivering authentic, usable music that can make them happy and solve problems for them, which comes in the form of, I've got a scene and I need to make it more emotional. I need to make it happier, sadder, or make the action feel more chaotic or frenzied. As Mason Cooper has said at many, many road rallies, it's not the music industry. When you're doing music for film and TV, you're in the film and TV industry. So you want to understand what their world is like so that you can then give them what they need, and you will have entree into their brain by doing that. I don't think I explained that as well as I would have liked to, but people align with people that get it. So a library owner that senses that you're really serious about making music that solves problems for his or her clients, that's a library owner that's going to keep coming back to you, okay? You are helping to make their life easier by presenting them with music that's so usable, so authentic feeling, that when they present to their clients that they are going to get more licenses. It's that simple. So covered that. All right. Reason number 3, not writing for the needs of industry pros. And again, I'm going to quote Simon Sinek. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior. That's the limbic area or limbic region of the brain. So, oh man, another incomplete sentence. I really need to take better stock of my notes for the show when I do these long ones like this. Here's a classic. Music supervisors and music libraries don't want your cool track. I mean, we've all of us in the industry have heard this 1,000 times. I'm sure you guys have heard it from your friends who are also musicians. I just wrote the most amazing track. But they don't want it because it's the most amazing track. They want music that tells their story, that solves their problem, that makes their emotions tug at the heartstrings more, makes it happier, sadder, whatever it is. They want music to solve their problem, to work in their production, not because it's great music. I'm going to hammer this a lot at this year's Road Rally. A lot. I'm absolutely convinced the longer I run taxi, the more convinced I become that many people, if not most musicians, can't say all, but many people are still stuck in this headspace of the old music industry where if I just write a great song, they'll take it. But film and TV, it's not about that at all. It's about providing them with music that makes their film better, that makes their TV show better. And while you may think your song is just so incredibly awesome that when everybody hears it in the show, they'll go, oh my God, I love that song. It's so amazing. But it's not about your song. It's about what your song does for their scene. Got to remember that. I mean, maybe put it on a Post-it note, stick it on a mirror every morning. Look at a Post-it note that says, it's not about my song, it's about what my song does for the scene. That might be the most concise, short way of saying it. And it's just so important to remember that because if you haven't made it yet, if you're not achieving your dreams yet, once you understand that and live by that, everything is going to change for you. I see it all the time. The Matt Vanderboes, Greg Carrozes, John Pearsons, all the guys that are either up there or on their way up there, they all get it. They all know that simple yet profound, inexorable, I think is the right choice of words, truth, that it's not about your music. It's about the TV show or the film and the scene within it and what your music does for it. Again, it's like good lighting, which so-so today. Great set. That's a great set, right? It's about so many other things. The jigsaw puzzle of what goes into a TV show, and the music is one of them. But for you, as the creator who's frustrated you haven't made it, clearly you want some recognition. You want to share. People say, I want to share my music with everybody. Yeah, you want to share it because you want them to give a little love back. That's an awesome piece of music. Can't believe you made that. That's so cool. But if that's not the why. That's what Simon Sinek is talking about. It's not the right why. The right why is digging deep. Sigmund Freud might disagree with Simon Sinek on this one. Maybe it is all about feeding the ego, personal aggrandizement. I don't know. Maybe it all is. Maybe I should just not have tackled this topic for today's show. But I know that my friends, the taxi members who've become my friends, the Carozes, the Pearsons, the Matt Vanderboats, there are many, many others that I consider real friends. And I have such affection for them and respect for them because they figured it out. Maybe somebody told them, maybe they figured it out on their own, maybe they heard it during a panel at the Road Rally, maybe they saw it in our newsletter, maybe it was part of a Taxi TV episode. But the one thing I have noticed about all of them is they understand the why. Why they are making music, the kind of music they make. And they do get that it's about improving the scene in the TV show or the movie or the commercial. Tension underscore that works instantly because the composer's why was, I'm going to sit down and create a cue that is subtly suspenseful, and stuck with that. So he was on a mission. He had a purpose for doing that. Starting with the why. It just gets you there more efficiently and more speedily, I think, and with more focus and more purpose. We were just talking about this. I was in the A&R room a couple hours ago, and we were talking about people that sit down with a taxi listing and they look at it. Let's say it's for silly dramedy cues, like over-the-top silly dramedy cues, like something you would hear in that show with the puppies and the kittens all falling down and rolling all over each other. I think it's called Too Cute. And you sit down to do that, and then quite by accident, maybe you come up with a little keyboard riff and go, oh my, sorry. I guess this show's not that exciting after all today. I don't know I don't think I've ever yawned in like 13 or 15 years of doing these. Anyway, point being that you start out thinking that you're making one thing, you accidentally stumble on something else that's really cool, and you go off the beaten path and you go down a rabbit hole, and before you know it, you've created something that does not solve any problem, doesn't answer the pitch where it's being requested. That's kind of an example of not having a strong enough or a focused enough why. And you know what? If you think about it, it goes along with Steven Pressfield's basically the basis of everything he writes about is resistance. And resistance is anything that pulls you away from what you're supposed to be doing. And we all do it. I do it. I did it yesterday morning until about noon when I started doing my taxi work, and that's why I was working till like 11 o'clock last night. I should have started at 8 in the morning when I got up. But no, resistance settled in, and I decided to reset the circuit breaker on my refrigerator because it's acting up, and one of the pieces of advice I got was try resetting the breaker. Turn it off, turn it on. Did that. Didn't solve the problem. Repairman coming tomorrow. And I'm really bummed out because my ice pops are now like smoothies rather than ice pops. I totally went down the rabbit hole with that one. But people go down the rabbit hole, and it's resistance that takes them there. And it's because they just don't want to do the work. It seems like too much work or too much hassle. Or maybe they're afraid to do the work. Maybe they're afraid they won't get it right. For whatever reason, they will let anything become their excuse, like my refrigerator and the circuit breaker, to delay doing the work or to prevent doing the work. Those are things that eat away at the possibility of you having a career, and it's a reason that you haven't made it. I love this one. Some people believe that they deserve success. This is still from Simon Sinek. Boy, I relied heavily on him. Believe that they deserve success without delivering value. There are only, and this is quoting Simon in his book, again, there are only two ways to influence human behavior. You can manipulate it or you can inspire it. And that was in his book. Again, I'm not making any money off of that recommendation. Actually, I just lied. No, I don't think we have this book. Some of the books on the taxi website, we get that Amazon associate thing. I don't think that one's on the list. Anyway, you can manipulate it or you can inspire it. That's how you can influence human behavior. You don't deserve success just because you want it. You don't deserve success just because you want to get your music out there. And you don't deserve success just because you've tried. I'm sorry, we don't give out participation medals. Oh, you've tried. Great. It's better than not trying. But just because you tried, if you fell flat, it doesn't mean that you deserve the success anyway. Maybe you need to try again and try harder. You deserve success when you provide consistent value. And that goes back to what I was talking about a few minutes ago, the why, which is consistent value for whom? For the music library, who wants to provide consistent value for his or her clients, which are usually music supervisors, maybe music editors. So here's an example of consistent value. If you were in the position, if you owned a music library, would you rather work with the composer that's finished 100 cues? Does that composer inspire more trust with you as a good working relationship, or somebody that says, I'm almost done with my album? Have you met that person before? I'm almost done with the album. The person that's finished 100 cues is serious and understands that the more music one creates, the better odds there are of getting their music placed. That's the value to the music library owner or the music supervisor, the person over the person who's still finishing his or her album, right? Because that's an unknown quotient. What kind of music is it? Well, I like it. When's it going to be done? So there's no value in it for me as a library owner or as a music supervisor. But if you've finished 100 cues, the value in that tells me that you have a purpose and you figured out that it's a numbers game, and having 100 cues is the thing that's going to give you momentum and get it going. Reason number 5, a lack of alignment. So again, this goes back to why you haven't made it, a lack of alignment. Another quote from Simon Sinek. Working hard for something we don't care about. Ooh, this one's really good. Write this one down, guys, or type it out or something. Save this one. Working hard for something we don't care about is stress. Working hard for something we love is passion. So that's why I worked 11 hours yesterday, and I was laughing at myself. It's like, dude, it's Sunday, but I always know every year for like 90 days before the rally, I work a lot of Saturdays and Sundays, most of them, as a matter of fact. But I did take I probably only worked a couple hours on Saturday, and I felt guilty. So Sunday, I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish, but I did accomplish a lot. I worked on this episode, and I got the ballroom panel just about done. Excuse me. Hopefully in less than a week, we will be sending that out to you so you can see what you're going to get. We won't have all the classes for the rally lined up yet, because Angel, who takes care of booking all the teachers and the classes and slotting in their times, has to see who I've got on stage in the ballroom before she does what she does. Excuse me. So, again, working hard for something we don't care about is stress. Working hard for something we love is passion. You may not have made it in the business because you've been chasing fame or finding maybe chasing fame instead of finding a fit that delivers value to the end user, which I just spoke about a minute ago. So for the audience, I want you, this is going to be hard. As I was writing these things down, I go, I don't know if I should ask them, but you guys, many of you know each other. I think we're a pretty honest and truthful crowd, and I can ask you to bear it all. I want you to think about this for a minute, but post the number one reason you think you haven't made it yet. Whatever making it is for you, I want you to put that in a sentence. Keep it short. What's the number one reason that you think that you haven't made it yet? I'm just going to sit here and look at your answers. I'm going to write some of these down. Confusion. I want to know what you're confused about, Bruce. Confusion, plain and simple. Marion Laird, insufficient submissions to taxi listings. Tinker Pain and Powerball. I bought $20 worth of tickets. I never gamble. I'm not against it. It just doesn't do anything for me. Maybe twice a year I'll go buy $10 or $20 worth of tickets. And I was in utter shock that I didn't win the Powerball the other night. The question is, if I did or I had, would I be doing this show today? Probably not, is my guess. Just being honest. All right, going back to these things. So Dean, Powerball numbers came up wrong. Yeah, boy, blame it on the balls, right? I keep getting 80% of the way there and giving up. Interesting. Overthinking and inconsistency, says Peaches. You guys are giving some great answers here. Chrissy Roberts says, I love that. What do you love? Free virtual instruments are not always the best choice in creating high-quality music. I don't know. I think Dean Krippain could prove the point. I know he's got a bunch of antiquated virtual instruments, and he makes them sound amazing because he knows them really well and knows how to use them. So you've probably heard this if you are a regular on the Taxi forum at forums.taxi.com. But let's face it, it's usually the ear and not the gear. Repeat after me. It's the ear, not the gear. Okay. And do you really think that the free virtual instruments are the things that are holding you back? I mean, honestly, if you don't have Logic, use Logic, because the stuff that comes with that for free, you could make hit records on. Everything you need is in there. Okay, Randall says scattered effort. Wow, you guys are being really, really honest and forthright about this. Douglas Rickett says, I know I've had to take breaks and work other jobs. It's cut into my momentum that comes with consistency. Toby Scott says, lack of confidence in my work, not being able to write quickly. That comes with practice. I just had that conversation a couple of weeks ago with Greg Carosa and a couple other members. I understand that. When you hear about other people that can crank out a cue a day or 3 cues in a day, they might all be hip hop and be using largely the same template and stuff, but that's okay. Because nobody's going to hear your hip hop cue in November of 2025 and then hear it again in April of 2026 on a different network, different kind of show, and go, I remember that bass sound and beat from another cue that I heard last year. Don't worry about it. Forget about it, is what they say. But interesting. Gosh, I should have done a panel on how to write quickly, but we've talked about this on Taxi TV. Bottom line is, the more you do it, the faster you'll get and the better you'll get. And not only will that apply to creating instrumental cues, but as a songwriter, so many people get bogged down choosing a bass sound or a kick drum sound or just the dumbest little aspects of minutia in a production and forget what the why is. The why is I sat down to write this kind of song that would be very usable for a library to pitch to music supervisors who would find it very usable. That's your why. The kick drum sound doesn't matter all that much. I mean, if it were really terrible, it would matter, but probably not all as terrible as you think. You might be over obsessing. Scattered effort. I think a lot of people that feel that. Procrastination, laziness should be sending in more submissions. Says Glenn Ruger. Kent Wall, distractions, insecurity, overpowering commitment. insecure over. Wow. I'm glad you guys tuned in for this show today because I'm going to solve all your problems. Not a licensed psychologist by any stretch of the matter. Ableton is good too for sounds. Ken, second year, no forward. Well, I don't have any context. I don't know how many submissions you made. I can't hear the music, so I don't know where you're not getting forwards because the stuff was in the wrong genre or you were missing, major bullet points in the listing. There are myriad reasons why people don't get forwarded. The number one reason is for not nailing the genre, which, by the way, and I didn't set this up to be a segue for this, but I was speaking to Robin Frederick yesterday afternoon, and she is doing a thing for this year's rally. Oh, schedule's not near me. What genre is this? For any of you who follow Robin Frederick or have seen her on stage at the Road Rally or watched her on Taxi TV or read her books, that woman knows more about genres than anybody that pops into my head at this moment. She is astonishingly good at hearing stuff and knowing the genre. She's not 30 years old. Not going to give away her age, but she's a boomer, and so the music of today she didn't grow up with. Yet she probably can name more songs of things that have been hits in the last 6 months than anybody I know. And she's just really, really good at going, oh no, that's not this genre, it's the other genre. Did you guys know, by the way, that Robin Frederick was our head screener for a couple of years? So there you go. Still part of the Taxi family. Okay, I'm going to keep going down this list. So Ken, I don't know enough to know why you're not getting forward. Chrissy Roberts, because I'm still learning and need to create more and keep learning. Well, Chrissy, you are in luck because let me grab the schedule. These are early ones that I've scribbled all over. Okay, going to Friday at the Road Rally. Chrissy, I hope you're coming. From 11 to 12 in the Grand Ballroom on the first day, we're doing a thing. The title is roughly, I may change it a little bit, Where Do I Start? What do I do first? And we're putting that right up front, the beginning of the Road Rally, so that people can formulate a plan of action, not for just their entire career, but for that weekend at the Road Rally. And Marion Laird says, your music is amazing, Chrissy Roberts. Still all over the place, not focused enough, too much of waiting to be ready to do it instead of doing it. Man, all these things are right here in today's show. Not applying myself, says John Hopes. Brooks James says it's challenging. Well, of course it is. Any accomplishment is challenging, right? Oops, I just scrolled past a whole bunch of them by accident. Wow, you guys. I would like, Robert Brantley says, I'd like for people to feel my lyrics. James Cox says, Robin is seriously one of the smartest people I've ever met. Do you know I once got a free ticket to a $25,000 marketing workshop in Austin, Texas? I flew out there for the thing, $25,000 for a Saturday and a Sunday. And the guy teaching it said, in the middle, he just blurted out, he opened up his book that he was selling for like $600, and he said, and here's a section by a woman that I think is the best writer I know, and her name is Robin Frederick. And I was like, what? Did he just say Robin Frederick? And he did. And I walked up to him afterwards and I said, you're talking about Robin Frederick, red hair, music industry lady, Robin Frederick? He goes, yeah, Robin Frederick. She's a great writer. And I couldn't believe it. I said, well, I must be a genius then because I hired her. She works for me. He was blown away. Anyway, I've learned a lot from Robin. I really have. Okay, Bobby Mark Music says, my problem with submissions lately, not writing specifically for the listing, and production not up to par. Both solvable problems, Bobby. Um, but you're working on both. Good. Oh, man, you guys have to come to this. I swear, last year everybody said, Michael, this is definitely the best road rally you guys have ever put on. And I knew, I think the whole staff kind of felt it. Before we even arrived at the hotel, we knew we had a winner on our hands. Yesterday was the first day where I went, wow, this road rally is going to even be 20% better than last year's. And last year's was the one that set the bar. Brooks says, I'd love to be there in person, but not sure I can get a flight now. Well, we're 2 months away. And the prices just dropped like by 20% after Labor Day. Now is your time. Where are you from, Brooks? You need to fly out for this. Let us change your life. Seriously, look, I don't make a penny if you come or you don't come. Doesn't matter to me other than I want every taxi member to be successful. And greatest thing you can do is immerse. As Matt Vanderbo once said, he learned, I hope I'm quoting him correctly, he learned more in one weekend than he could have learned in 3.5 years. So there you go. Robin Frederick was also a Disney supervisor. Was it Disney? Anyway, I know she worked on a bunch of kids' records. Maybe it's Disney. I was thinking of somebody else. You would think I would know these things because I published a couple of her books. Listings are confusing. Interesting. They provide samples, but then say don't follow them too closely. Right. Again, come to the Road Rally. Glad you're watching Taxi TV. These are all solvable problems. Music is vast in styles, but then there are comments like the drums are outdated. Well, all these things are part of the stew that makes up something that is forwardable by the screener, signable by the music library, and usable by the music supervisor. They don't want you to follow them exactly. The secret sauce to the references is what do they have in common? Are they all emotionally up, happy? Do they use major chords? Are the drum patterns pretty much four on the floor? Look for things they have in common. They're not asking you to write another version of that song. God forbid you do that. That's plagiarizing. It's copyright infringement. You don't want to do that. But you can get the vibe. If all 3 songs are sad, you start that. Write down the word sad. If they're all in minor keys, write down minor keys. If they're all within a certain tempo range, tap it out, find out what those numbers are, write it down. They all have an acoustic guitar and a piano in them, write that down. Those are the commonalities that you're looking for that will help you create something that the client is looking for. So there you go. Drums are outdated. You know what? Yeah, we could sell you a brand new pair of shoes that are in perfect condition, super well made, and very fashionable in 1948. How would you like a pair of like black and white lace-up saddle shoes, right? Great shoes, but they would be out of place in today's market, although they did have a comeback, I remember, like in the 80s or something. But I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, when music libraries, music supervisors, A&R people, they can hear stuff that's done really well all the time. And you can get there because every one of our members, especially Matt Vanderbo, who is doing really well, getting tons of placements, making great money doing it, having a great time doing it, he's passionate about it. He was terrible in the beginning. And I'm saying this publicly because he would admit to it maybe he's in a chat room, but Matt Vanderbo didn't know anything about anything when it came to producing music. And he figured it out. And so have thousands of other taxi members over the last 33 years that are now successful, so successful they don't need taxi anymore. We were their launch pad, and now they have flown the nest. But you can be that person too. Don't think that you're so special that you're the only one who can't get it, okay? All these comments are excellent for me. Greg Trammell says, Trammell, sorry, am I mispronouncing your name? I keep writing, take my returns, keep writing, rinse, repeat. Yep, absolutely. Okay, now they're coming in a little too fast. Okay, so let me continue on because I was worried I wasn't going to have enough to fill 90 minutes and I've only got about 40 minutes left. Oh, man. But this is great. I love this feedback in the chat room. This reminds me of back when we used to do the Quarantini happy hours during the lockdown. Okay. I talked about this before. Actually, I think I've summarized everything that I wrote these notes out for at some point in today's show. But Pressfield talks about taking action. And resistance, which is that thing that stops you, resistance wins. Here are some of the forms of resistance. Fear. I think I saw that in there. Perfectionism. Ooh, that's a bad one. Procrastination. That is me. I am Mr. Procrastination. I will procrastinate up until when I absolutely have to get my homework done. And then I'll sit down and probably do it really, really well. But I'm that guy. I'm motivated by urgency and fear of failure. So there you go. But that overcomes my procrastination. But it's nasty. Resistance will tell you, this is a quote from Steven Pressfield, resistance will tell you anything to keep you from doing your work. My back hurts. I messed up my back the other day. It was moving a clothes dryer, really messed up my back, like to the point of I almost thought about going for a cortisone injection. It hurt that much. And I kept using that as my excuse. I can't concentrate on working on the ballroom panels if I can't think because the pain is so great. And then finally, I just took 3 Advil and sucked it up and got it done. And was really, really happy at the result. So screw resistance. Fear of rejection. Oh, my God. Yeah, if I don't make it, nobody can reject it. I can just sit on the sidelines and watch other people fail. Endless tweaking. Oh, dear God, again. I don't think a music supervisor or music library, maybe even record labels, I mean, whether your hi-hat is pan to the left, pan to the right, has a 65 millisecond delay on it, your choice of reverb on the vocal, all those things don't matter very much. They are not going to cost you signing with a library, getting a placement, getting your song cut by somebody. Those are minute and trivial. What matters is the craft that, the craft that goes into making the song. So worry about the big picture, not the minutia. Okay, where was I? Here's an example, not submitting a track to a taxi listing because the mix isn't perfect. Come on, admit it. You've done that, right? You worried so much about the mix that you didn't submit. That's resistance lying to you. Telling you in your head because you're afraid of getting rejected, we can put this off. We can make this go away. We can avoid the truth and pain that comes. We can avoid the pain that comes with the truth that maybe it isn't good enough. You know what? Screw it. So what? What does it matter? You spent $5, you sent it in. You know what? You're going to get $5 worth of benefit out of it by seeing what the screener wrote. By the way, I really appreciate you guys who send in stuff reporting your success stories for the taxi newsletter. So many people mention the feedback from, virtually all mention the feedback from the screeners has helped them quite a bit once they got to the point where they could accept the information. Are the screeners right 100% of the time? No. Are they right 90% or greater? Probably. We check their work pretty carefully, and they're really good at what they do. So there you go. Resistance lying. Reason number 7, acting like amateurs, not pros. Okay. Turning Pro, Steven Pressfield. If you haven't read it, buy it. It's a cheap thrill. $12.95. You can probably get it on sale at Amazon. It's been out for a long time. Great book. It is only 132 pages. You can read this on a Saturday and your life will be changed. I am not kidding. Difference between amateur and professional is in their habits. Turning Pro, page 20. Let's see if I actually kept that marker in there. Oh man, what did I do with that? This book is so marked up. It has so many placeholders in it. I don't know. Anyway, difference between an amateur and professional is in their habits. I've got to say, I read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, many years ago. Didn't love it. It was good. It was worth whatever I spent on, probably $15, $20. Can't say I didn't learn anything. I didn't like the way it was presented, but basically what Pressfield is doing is talking about that. There are habits that people who fail have, and they repeat them over and over, and then there are habits that successful people have. All you have to do is adopt the habits that the successful people use, and you too can be successful. Amateurs dabble. This is something that I learned from him. Amateurs dabble and pros build habits. Are you dabbling as an amateur but expecting pro results because that's what you want? Is that enough? That's what I want, so you deserve it? But yet I'm acting as an amateur. Yeah, I worked like 2 weekends ago. I worked for about 3 hours on creating a cue. But yet I want to be Matt Vanderbo, or I want to be Keith LeBrant and have over 100,000 placements. Well, you're not going to get there by dabbling. So there you go. Oh, man, now I wish I could just hang out and look at the chat room. You guys are having a good time in there, putting some good stuff in. I'll go back and read it tonight. Well, maybe not tonight, but by tomorrow. We all know that simply wanting something isn't enough to get the career that you envision. I would love to have a private jet, never have to go through security at LAX ever again as long as I live. But I'm not going to get it by just wanting it, no matter how badly I want it. Honestly, as I was writing this stuff out, maybe some people think this is inappropriate. It won't be the first time, but I was thinking about a child being nursed by his mother. That might be the only legitimate time where somebody can go, wham, 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 I want it. A baby needing to be fed, okay? That's okay. But for an adult to do that, or maybe you're acting like a baby, I don't know. But just simply wanting it is not enough. An amateur produces 3 tracks a year. A pro produces 3 tracks a week. The music libraries want to work with the pros. Anybody watching this can make it, because you know why? You think it's about talent. Trust me when I tell you, there are a lot of cues that get used, instrumental cues, and a lot of songs that get used in TV shows that don't display great talent, but they do answer the why for the music libraries and the music supervisors. That's more important than the talent. So maybe this is resistance acting on you, telling you, well, Matt Vanderbo, the guy is like so talented. He's not more talented than you. His talent is understanding what it is that makes his music signable by the libraries, because it's useful for their clients who are the music supervisors. That's his talent. And his work ethic. He is Matt Vanderbo. I hate to keep saying over and over and over like he's a god, but he's pretty close. Vanderbo became everything that Steven Pressfield talks about in his books. He overcame it all. I'm sure he's got days where resistance is working on that brain of his, and he's like, oh, maybe I should go work on my tan or work on my bodybuilding or anything but working on music today. Any excuse. I'm sure he's got that. Nobody is void of resistance, but he has learned to manage his resistance to the point where he is able to stay focused, productive, on schedule, and it comes down to the deliverables. I don't know how many cues a year he does now, but it's still a lot. He's a single dad raising his daughter, so he can't give it as much effort as he did when he was a single guy with no daughter. Anyway. The amateur, here's a great Pressfield quote. This is awesome. The amateur tweets and the pro works. So think about that the next time you're doom scrolling on your phone. Okay, it says read the entire list that starts on page 90 of Turning Pro. That note I could read. Okay. These are the qualities of a professional, and I believe that he copied these over from The War of Art, but definitely worth reading. Number 1, the professional shows up every day. Number 2, the professional stays on the job all day. Matt Vanderbo. The professional is committed over the long haul. Duh. Number 4, for the professional, the stakes are high and real. Number 5, the professional is patient. Oh my God, so many of you, and I mean you in the general all musicians in the world kind of way, so many of you have no patience. I worked really hard on this song and I sent it in and I want to know now, why haven't I heard from the library? And I can't believe it didn't get signed. I can't believe it didn't get placed, blah, 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 blah. Ask any of our successful members and they will all tell you that it took them several years. So folks, be patient. The professional seeks order. I must be the most unprofessional guy you've ever met, because if you saw my desk right now, you would know I definitely don't seek order. I've definitely got the messiest desk in all of Taxi World headquarters. The professional demystifies. Must be talking about Dean Krippain for having written Demystifying the Cue. The professional acts in the face of fear. That's a big one. I'm surprised he didn't move that further up the list. That was number 8. The professional acts in the face of fear. Yeah, we all fear rejection. We all fear failure. I mean, those two things alone are enough to stifle anybody from having any forward movement. I fear every year when I'm working on the Road Rally, I absolutely fear that it's going to flop. I'm fearing right now that we're not going to have enough sponsors to pay for the Road Rally this year because the business climate out there is still pretty sucky. Sponsors that we've had for many years can't really afford it this year. We've cut way back on our marketing budget. So I have that fear, but I didn't call off the Road Rally. The professional acts in the face of fear. I got that one already, right? Yeah. Professional accepts no excuses. He should have specified, accepts no excuses from him or herself. The professional plays it as it lays. Golf term, obviously. Yeah, you know what? This is another great example of resistance. People will keep making excuses like, well, I'm not going to work on the cue right now because I really need a new keyboard, or I really need a new sample pack, or I've got to have that Neve 1073 plug-in. No, you can make the cue without the 1073 plug-in. Play it as it lays. I thought the proper way to say that was play it as it lies. Who knows? I'll have to ask ChatGPT later. The professional is prepared. The professional does not show off. The professional dedicates himself to mastering technique. I translate that into you find a great bass sound that works for hip hop. You find a great drum sound that works for hip hop. You find a great keyboard. You build a template that is your starting point for almost anything you do that has hip hop as a component or is purely hip hop. You don't have to keep all the sounds identical. You could add a little bottom, add a little top, suck out a little mids, add a little reverb, add a little delay, change the balance between the kick and the bass, all those variables, but you've got the template to start. That's mastering the technique of being productive in creating instrumental cues and songs. By the way, those of you who are songwriters, start doing instrumental cues because you will develop these productive habits that then carry over into your song work. One of the reasons I'm absolutely certain songs don't get finished is because people get bogged down in the engineering and the production. By the way, ladies, and I know that there are definitely a smaller percentage of women in the taxi population, membership population, I have put together a panel for you that will be on Saturday at this year's Road Rally. I think I'm calling it the Glass Console. Little play on words there. With 4 amazing women that will inspire you and tell you how they do it, how they did it, how they accomplished it. When I realized I had those 4 people on stage at the same time, I went, I'm telling you, do not miss this year's Road Rally. If you got to drop $300 on a plane flight, are you worth it? You got to drop $500 on a few nights of hotel, are you worth it? Maybe you'll drop $1,000. I've only said this once before in all the years I've been doing taxi TV. Pull out your credit card and rack up some debt for this one. You will not regret it. And I never, ever carry a balance on my credit cards. I am one of those people. It's like, I won't put it on the credit card if I can't afford to pay it off at the end of this month. This year's Road Rally is going to be so beneficial for your career. And we haven't even gotten into the classes yet, but just the ballroom panels. If you only came out for nothing more than the ballroom panels, if there wasn't amazing networking, if there weren't amazing classes, if it wasn't like networking on steroids and all you saw were the ballroom panels and you dropped $1,000, put that on your credit card and had to pay it off over a year, it's $80 a month. Come on. It would be worth it. I promise you it'll be worth it. I feel that confident. I'm so happy. That's the first thing I said when I walked in the office today is I'm just as pleased and happy as I can be about this year's rally. The professional does not hesitate to ask for help. The forums. The professional does not take failure or success personally. Wow. Yeah, they didn't like your song. They didn't like your instrumental cue. Does that mean they think you're a loser? No, they just simply didn't like that thing. They could care less about you. They only care about themselves and getting the right music for that scene. That's their why. They don't look at you and go, couldn't use that one. Boy, Michael's a loser. Get over it, folks. Do not take it personally. The professional does not identify with his or her instrument. I don't understand that one, Pressfield. The professional does not identify with his or her instrument. I think he's a writer, so his keyboard is his instrument. I don't know. I've still got his phone number. I have to call him up and ask for clarification on that one. I still owe him a round of golf, but we promised to do it after COVID. Here we are, like 4 years after COVID. I still haven't taken him out for golf. The professional endures adversity. If you want to know why taxi has been around for 30 years, I have learned to endure adversity. It wasn't fun. It wasn't easy. It was painful. But there has been some adversity. And you know what? What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. That axiom, whatever that is, it exists for a reason. The professional self-validates. Yes. And I pulled this off of my door. One of our members, who I think is a great guy, he was our listing writer for like a year and a half, 2 years. Andrew Jordan. He's been on a panel or two at the Road Rally. He's been on Taxi TV. This is literally, this piece of paper is taped on my door of my office and has been for like 5 years at eye level. So when I walk in every day, I see value criticism over validation, because you can learn from criticism. Validation just it's great. Who doesn't love validation? But you know what? Write that one down. Value criticism over validation. Toby Scott has a question. Do you ever just try a rejected song again later for another brief? Yeah, try it 2 or 3 times. And if you get similar, the feedback is not going to be identical, because the listings won't be identical. They might be the same genre, but they won't be identical in every aspect. And the screeners, sometimes the same screener will give you different feedback. Let's say you get the same screener because you're pitching to a genre that we've only got one screener for, because it's a niche genre and you really need a lot of expertise. So you send to that and you get feedback 3 times, and it's a little different each time. One reason that happens is the screener doesn't want to be repetitive and give you the same stuff. Could be that the second time you hear something, come on, we all know the second time you hear something, you notice things that you didn't hear the first time. And sometimes you get different feedback from different screeners on the same song. Again, they could be seeing it through a different lens, right? They're looking at it for that listing, not the song holistically. They're looking at it as it related to that listing. So I would advise sending something in a few times and see if you get some aspects of the feedback that, if somebody says your drums just sound so dated and horrible that it's really holding this piece back. Compositionally, it's cool. Production is holding it back because of this really dated drum sound. And if a few people mention that, it's the drum sound. Fix it. There you go. Okay, moving on to number 9. Not enough output. Some of you mentioned that. A lot of taxi members are quote unquote guilty. Oh, I didn't even finish that list. Quote unquote guilty of that. Not enough output. Sync is a catalog game. Having 5 tracks won't cut it. Pressfield says, don't prepare, act. We can always revise once we've acted. And do the work, he says, create drafts. Oh, this was great. Do the work. Where are you? Page 37 of the hardback version. Where did I put that? Page 37. Let's go to it. Oh, don't worry about the quality. See, this is the thing. People get so hung up on the quality of that piano sound or some maybe bigger issue and thing. Don't worry about it. Just finish it. Just finish it. Don't worry about the quality. Act. Don't reflect. Momentum is everything. And I bet you every single one of our successful members, they've all been through what you're going through. I know we all think we're unique. I called the refrigerator repair guy this morning at like 8 a.m. and I'm trying to explain what's going on with the fridge in great detail. And he said, I've been doing this for 35 years. Do you think it's the first time that I've experienced a freezer turning ice pops into smoothies? But the refrigerator side is cold. I can tell you what it is, but I'm going to come out and be sure. It's got something to do with the damper between the fridge and the freezer compartment. Hopefully it's not my coils, or maybe I just need a recharge of whatever they put in there nowadays. It's not so poisonous. Oh my God, did I lose the list? Here we go. Okay, I'm going back to this quickly. Man, oh man, I've only got 15 minutes left. Good thing I'm far down the list. Professional self-validates. Professional reinvents herself. The professional is recognized by other professionals. Well, how do you do that? By becoming part of the gang in the forum or at the road rally. All this stuff, I mean, you hear it and you go, oh, that makes sense, right? But you're not doing it or you wouldn't be watching this episode. All you have to do is do it. You can achieve your dreams. You don't have to shake your head and go, I'm so frustrated, I'm not making it. You can make it. All you have to do is do this stuff. It's not that hard. You just have to fight what Pressfield calls resistance. Get off your butt and do it. Just do it. Am I passionate about this? Yes, I am. I want every single taxi member to be successful at whatever level they view success as. Shirley and I have been hanging out a lot lately, more than we normally get to. And we were having dinner last Tuesday night, I think. And we were talking about this same thing, that we've known so many people in our two respective careers that all they do is complain about the industry, but yet they're not doing the work. And they're finding a million reasons to not do the work. Okay, and the last one on the list, I got it. The professional is recognized by other professionals. Yeah, said that one already. Okay, I started on not enough output. Don't prepare. We can always revise once we've acted, says Pressfield. Don't worry about the quality. Act. Don't reflect. Momentum is everything. Shirley and I were talking about momentum. Maybe not last Tuesday, but at a recent dinner or in the car or something, that you do get to a point in your career. And again, all successful taxi members will tell you this, that getting one forward inspires you to keep going, because maybe you'll get more forwards. Then you get several forwards, and one of them results in a phone call or an email from a music library that wants to sign your thing. All of a sudden, now you've got momentum, because you have learned the lesson that if I work hard, if I focus, if I concentrate and stay on task, it pays off by helping me achieve my goal. Well, now you've seen the payoff, and the payoff creates the momentum, which creates more focus, more determination, more willingness to do the work, and more willingness to tell resistance to go F itself. That's a hard one. But you know what? Momentum makes that happen. So an example is somebody who creates 52 cues a year. Now, that's a catalog, right? But somebody who creates a cue every 3 weeks, not so much. I'm curious. We might go 5 or 10 minutes longer than this, just giving you a little heads up right now. How many, for those of you who do instrumental cues, how many would you say you average per week? I can tell you that just anecdotally, our members who are more successful, they're probably up to like 3 cues a day. And when I'm talking cues, I'm going to qualify this by saying not big, lush, trailer style orchestral cues. I'm talking about, like an acoustic guitar, banjo harmonica cue, or something fairly simple, something that's not huge in orchestral. I don't like your answer, MMS. It depends on how long they need to be. If it's 90 seconds, I can do more of them. Sure. Wow. One per week on average, says Stu Thaler. I created 3 last week. You are on your way, buddy. Andre. Hey, Andre. Somebody somebody was talking about you the other day. Maybe it was LeBrant and I were talking about you in a good way, that you're a skilled guitarist. I think it was LeBrant. I have 70 signed tracks already this year and 20 forward. Yay! Here. I remember a time when you were getting very frustrated. When am I going to get a forward? I never get any forwards. Look at you now. You are in the business, and I could not be more proud of you. Peter Steege. Pete, I saw that you're coming to the Road Rally. I think I saw that in the database. Yay. A couple a week, plus or minus. Yay. MMS does 3 a week, just because my time is limited. Douglas Ricketts, I was averaging 1 to 2 3-act pieces a week until about a month ago. Had to hustle up some business in other areas. Marco does 3 a week usually for me. See that? There you go, you guys. I almost could predict who will be successful depending on what the level of successes they want to achieve, just by learning things like this about people. The members, it kills me. It really pisses me off when I see somebody post something that says, oh yeah, I had a friend that belonged to Taxi. He said it didn't do anything for him. How many submissions did that person make? We don't know. How good was their music? We don't know. How on target was their music? We don't know. All we know is I had a friend who used Taxi and it didn't work out for him. So I think there should be a law. As a matter of fact, I am going to ask the president to sign an executive order that says anybody who ever posts anything about Taxi not working out for them has to post links to 3 pieces of music, post the listings that they submitted for, the feedback they got back from the screener, and an apology. That sounds like something that needs to go into law, right? Reason number 9, lack of market awareness. It's amazing how many people want to be in the industry of doing music for film and television and still think like they are in the record industry. It's a great song. It's a great instrumental cue. Best one I've ever done. Doesn't really matter. What matters is, did you solve a problem for the music library by giving them music their clients will like or find usable? And did you create a piece of music that music library can make money with? Because if they're making money, you're making money. Number 10, inconsistency. I'm not even going to talk about that one because we've seen people admit to it in the chat room, and we know that is a big problem. But Pressfield says professional shows up every day, stays on the job all day, committed over the long haul. Yep, we know that. Not learning from feedback. This was number 11 on my list, not learning from feedback. Amateurs take critiques personally. They do. People, the sting of the Taxi feedback. Pros, and almost every one of our successful members will tell you this, that when you start going, hey, I don't agree with everything that screener said, but there's some pretty valuable stuff in there. And I've seen this issue come up several times. And literally, I wish you guys could spend a week sitting here at my desk with me, seeing the stuff that comes across the desk, because when I get that last view of the member success stories that goes in our newsletter, I'm blown away, frankly surprised by how many people say that the feedback has been incredibly valuable for them. Yet the people who don't renew say the feedback was worthless. We must have monkeys listening to the music, or robots, or interns. Couldn't be further from the truth. But they've got to blame an external source, right? So reason number 12 that people don't succeed is they quit too soon. Sync is a long game. It usually takes 3 to 5 years to build up some modicum of momentum. That was hard to say, modicum of momentum. Quote Pressfield here, I will. The amateur believes he must first overcome his fear. The professional knows fear can never be overcome. Why did I put that in there about how long it takes? Anyway, members have landed deals 5 years after Forward. Did we just have one, I think, that showed up in the member success stories? 10 years after something got signed to a library, it finally got licensed, and it was licensed for something really good, if memory serves. Reason number 13, are you addicted to failure? This is a really serious one, and I'm glad this is the last one on the list because I want to ponder this for a minute. It says, go to Turning Pro. I'm going there. Go to the yellow tab. I'm doing that. And it says, read the whole page. So snuggle up, kids. Grab your blankie, a cup of warm milk. Uncle Michael's going to read you a story from Turning Pro by Steven Pressfield called Addicted to Failure. There's a difference between failing, which is natural and normal part of life, and being addicted to failure. When we're addicted to failure, we actually enjoy it. Each time we fail, we're secretly relieved. Think about that. When you fail, you're relieved. There's a glamour to failure that's been mined for centuries by starving poets, romantic suicides, and other self-defined doomed souls. This glamour inverts failure and turns it into success. I'm going to read that one more time. This glamour, the glamour of romanticizing suicide, starving poets, blah, 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 of failure, romanticizing failure. The glamour inverts failure and turns it into success. I've had a romance with the goddess myself, says Pressfield. Have you? The lure of failure can be as intoxicating as the hardest of hardcore narcotics. Most of us will never know. The payoff is incapacity. When we fail, we're off the hook. And I underline that, put a star by it, and highlighted it with a turquoise marker years ago when I first read this. When we fail, we're off the hook. We've given ourselves a get-out-of-jail-free card. We no longer have to ask and answer Stanislavski's famous 3 questions: who am I? Why am I here? And what do I want? Who am I? Why am I here? And what do I want? Did I make any notes about this? Okay, talking about when we fail that we're off the hook, and the best part is we can blame external things like the industry is trying to keep me out. Taxi screeners must be interns. Did my music even get sent to the library? If they heard it, they would have signed it. It's just, you can't blame anybody but yourself. And if you get addicted to failure, you know what? I used to have a friend. He's no longer among the living, but when he was, this guy had an alcohol problem. He was a good soul, a really good person, like a brother to me, actually. And it broke my heart that his alcoholism just ruined his life. But what I saw him do was use that failure to control his drinking, to go to AA, do anything he could to get help. He used that to make himself look pathetic in front of his wife and his kids. And he absorbed all that. Come on, Dad, you can do this. That's what he thrived on. Rather than trying to get himself straightened out, which I know is, it's a disease and it's extremely difficult. But I really believe that the thing that stopped him from doing it was he liked, in a perverse way, liked the attention that the alcoholism got him from his family. So I understand what Pressfield's talking about. By the way, Pressfield has been an addict and an alcoholic. He talks about it in his book, so I'm not telling you things out of school here. So when I see him talk about this stuff, I know it's coming from a place of he's been there. This isn't somebody watching from the outside looking in. This is somebody who's been on the inside. Okay, so to summarize, there are several reasons why you haven't made it. You don't know what your why is. Think about it. You guys gave some pretty good answers for the why, but sit down. It took me a very, very long time to come up with the tagline for Taxi, the world's leading independent A&R company. Literally like a year about reading books about how to come up with a unique selling proposition is what it's called in marketing parlance. My first one was the computer vehicle for the music industry because computers were still so new. The internet was brand new. It existed in the form of AOL and CompuServe, I believe, at the time they started Taxi. And I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway, never mind. But know what your why is. Working on the computer vehicle for the music industry. I thought it made perfect sense because we use computers to help the music industry find its music. Nobody understood what that meant. They literally thought that we were driving around delivering computers to record labels. So I spent a year trying to learn everything I could about creating an effective USP, unique selling proposition. And then I read a book one day that said, if you are the first, then you are the leader. If you are the best, then you are the leader. And nobody else had ever created an independent A&R company. It was always a function of a record label under the roof. So we are the world's leading independent A&R company. It established us. Wouldn't you rather work with the leader than the follower? So there you go. So the same thing applies to coming up with your why. Really think about it tonight. When you're tucked into bed tonight, don't turn on the TV like I do. Don't do what I do. Do what I say. Think about your why and write it down. Go deep. Figure it out, because when you understand the why, it's like having a magical key that opens up all the doors to the kingdom. It really is. Okay, so has resistance infected you to the point of doing nothing? For many of us, yes. I've been victim of that many, many times. Are your habits amateur habits or those of a pro? Get the keys with your why and change your habits to start acting like a pro, and you will become one. Does your lack of consistency manifest itself by creating peaks and valleys rather than working on a regular schedule and creating consistent output? We've all been there. I'm there. Every year when the rally comes around, it's like I could start 5 months out. And I do have little peaks and little valleys, but then when it's 90 days away, I have to really kick myself in the ass and really, really, really get going on it. And I know it's like, how hard can it be to come up with, panel ideas, the right panelists to put on it, the right questions to ask for it. There's a lot that goes into it, especially the timing and coordination with the classes, blah, blah, blah. But it's daunting. It's hard, even though I've been doing it for 29 years now, and it has gotten easier because I've learned by making a lot of mistakes. I still have peaks and valleys, and I don't apply myself consistently. And I learned something putting this show together for you today. It's not like if I'm an expert on any of this, it's because I've made the mistakes, been through it myself. Have you quit too soon? Oh my gosh. So many people, I would say half of the people that don't renew come back years later and renew. They make a more firm commitment. They think that they've gotten better musically. And I look at them and go, but you've been away for 4 years. Think about how many cues or songs or whatever you could be cranking out if you had stuck with it for those 4 years. And now you're basically starting at the starting line again and trying to play catch up. So it's better to come back than not, but stay consistent. Even if consistent means cranking out a cue a week or a song a month, whatever it is, just stay with it, because every time you do it, even when you fail, maybe especially when you fail, you will get better. Those old adages, it's not about falling down, it's about getting back up. Those sayings exist for a reason. All those things I just said, they kill careers more than a lack of talent ever did. And everybody wants to believe that Matt Vanderbilt is more talented than I am. Carosa is more talented than I am. And anybody who's having any modicum of success with Taxi, they must be more talented than I am. They're not. They just figured all this stuff out that Steven Pressfield and Simon Sinek told us. Maybe they read the books. I hope so. Anyway, that is it. Making sure I don't know what I'm doing for next week's show. I had something booked and it just canceled on me Friday afternoon. And I haven't come up with a better one. But trust me, folks, when I tell you, go to taxi.com/rally, RALLY, and look at last year's schedule. Everything on that page is from last year, but it will give you a really good idea of the depth and breadth of stuff that you can expect at this year's Road Rally. And just know that I'm very, very close to having the ballroom schedule ready to go for you guys. And you guys who've known me for years and been members for a long time and have been to Road Rallies know that when I tell you it's going to be a spectacularly good Road Rally, we will deliver on that. You do not want to miss this one. I was wondering how I can bring a violin this year. I will tell you, Marion, you are going to be very excited about this. Damn, I wish I printed that out last night, but I didn't. Anyway, I'm doing a panel, as I mentioned before, called the Glass Console, and it's to inspire and empower women to do more of their own production work, engineering and production work. It has always bothered me as the father of 4 daughters and a wife that any woman who says, oh, I've got to wait for my boyfriend to come home to do a mix minus vocal, or my husband will have to remix it. Oh, come on. I just don't see any reason for that. I can understand a woman not being able to lift a PA column that weighs 250 pounds. There's a physical difference there. But that's it. That's where it stops. And I've known some incredibly talented female taxi members who are incredibly accomplished and successful. I've known female engineers and producers. The stuff is doable and learnable, and you've got to quit saying, well, I got to wait for my husband or my boyfriend. So I put together this panel. Remember Robina Ritchie Barker, blonde-haired lady who was on 2 panels last year at the Road Rally and just killed it. I was so glad that I invited her to be on those panels. I've asked her to moderate this one. And I know she will be a great moderator, but I've got, who do I have? Can I pull it up? Let's see. Oh, the keynote panel. I've got a music supervisor, music library owner, executive producer from a TV show, and an A-list TV editor. That panel is going to be so good. Then I've got Mark Giovanni doing epic orchestrals, pro techniques masterclass, mind-blowingly great teacher, film and song TV pitch panel, instrumental pitch panel the next morning. What genre is this with Robin Frederick? We spent quite a bit of time chatting back and forth last night about this. Composing to sell the story, trailers and promos unlocked with Randon Purcell, who is not only going to educate you a little bit about the trailer and promo side of the business, but going to create one live on stage. Breaking the Glass Console. Here we go. Robina's going to moderate. I've got award-winning composer Sharon Farber. She spells Sharon, it's pronounced Sharon, but her name is spelled like Sharon Farber. Google her. Kim Tibbs, who was there last year, she has had charted singles on the British soul charts, I think, for the last 2 years, a couple of times. She is a world-class keyboard player, but my favorite reason for just loving the hell out of that lady is she has a full-size MCI console and 24-track 2-inch machine in her studio, in her house, and also Christine Wu, who is a world-class virtuoso violinist and cellist, also very accomplished composer, producer. These are maybe the strongest, most accomplished women that I know in my personal circle of friends, and they are going to inspire you so much, and you will not be able to walk out of that ballroom making any excuses about waiting for your husband or boyfriend to come home and do a mix for you after that. Man, I'm way over. Okay, I'll tell you the rest of the next thing. We're going to do a thing on niche genres and how you're missing great opportunity to own that market. Today, I booked a gentleman named Brian Ralston, who I think is going to end up being one of the greatest interviews we've ever had at the Road Rally. We don't know the exact topic yet, but that's going to be on Sunday. Song listening and feedback sessions, again, with pretty much the same lineup of ears that were on there last year, because I heard it worked really, really well. Craig Pilo, Chris Long, James Koshin, Ty Knox, Steve Block, and Bobby Reimer. Breaking into video game music with Reed Heidel, Near Shore, and Hillel Tepletsky. I got to tell you, I'm feeling really, really good about that one as well. I've got one slot. This is the only thing left to fill in. And I want your opinion on this stuff, you guys, before we sign off. Thank you for staying late with me. What do you think about us doing an Ask Us Anything? Should we do Ask Us Anything or do an A&R hot seat? I'm talking about like a 5:30 thing. No, I'm not. I'm talking 3:45 to 5 o'clock. Second to last thing of the whole road rally. I was thinking about doing an Ask Us Anything as kind of a wrap up to the rally where I put a screener, a high-end member, and a library owner, maybe our head screener. I don't know. What do you guys think? I want something to be the bow that goes on the package that is the road rally. This year's Road Rally follows a progression, starting out with the basics and then getting more and more involved in stepping up a level as it progresses, with one exception. So I'm really happy about that aspect. And then I thought, at the end, I think it might be cool for people to be able to come back and ask questions before we do the final panel. So let me know. Wow. I'm still broadcasting, right? I've never seen the chat room come to a standstill. Oh, well, there we go. Oh, come on. You guys are talking French now? Please. Are you going to answer the question I just asked in English, maybe? Michael Bruce Miller sounds like a great idea. Yes, you are. Okay. We are here. Good idea. I think either would be great. Anyway, that's the number one thing on my list for filling that final slot. So there you go. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this was helpful. I cannot recommend these books enough, and I hope I use them fairly effectively to communicate with you guys. Start with Why by Simon Sinek, The War of Art. It's a true classic by Steven Pressfield. Turning Pro. If you've read the other one, you got to read this one. They're such easy reads and so incredibly satisfying when you read them. And finally, Do the Work with the Unusual Cover. All right, you guys. I will see you next week for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live.